Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy Thanksgiving Eve, right? It has been a week, you all. If you and your family are anything like me and my family, you have already started cooking. Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody. Those pots have already been rattling. That kitchen is already doing this thing. You already smell greens and cornbread dressing and mac and cheese. And the flick of the wrist is real, is happening right now as we speak. Hello, somebody, right? I know because as soon as we get off of this here live, I am going to prepare my world famous caramel cake. Oh, yes. My caramel that I make from scratch has been preparing for the last 3 hours. It is a 5 hour homemade caramel. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Fights have started over the wars have been fought over my world famous caramel cake. And I'm here to tell you, these are well fought wars. These are well deserving it because it is not to be played with. Hello. If you know, you know. Hello, everyone. welcome to our Tuesday night segment of Divine Femininity United. I am your girl, Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee, and we are here for our next installment of this amazing book that we are journeying through, The Shack. I believe we are almost to the end of the book, which it's bittersweet. It is bittersweet because this has been a journey, you all. This has been a journey through this story, this event, this experience, this very true happening that our friend Mackenzie Allen Philips, Mack for short, has endured. And I'm so grateful that he shared his story. I'm so grateful that he shared his story. Now, this book is very old. I want to say it's 20 plus years old. But it's so good and it's so timely. You ever had those pieces, those art pieces, artwork, music, paintings, books, whatever the case, that has proved itself to stand the test of time. And this book right here, I really and truly believe is one of those. It is one of those for sure. I believe this one, The Secret, absolutely. So many, my goodness. Okay, The Secret I just felt a little tingle in my belly with when I said the Secret. I love The Secret. I love the whole book series. You got The Secret, The Magic, The Power, Hero. Oh, we've journeyed through those all of those books right here on our platform. Those books are also readily available if you need them in ebook form. I have them for you, no cost to you, free of charge. Okay. Alrighty, you all listen. As you all know, on Tuesdays we do not take long at all because it's already pretty, late in the evening and things like that. And so I don't want to keep you from your family, from your relaxation or things like that. But at any point during our segment, we are airing live on Clubhouse, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of those things. And so from wherever you're watching, at any point that you are listening in and something resonates with you, feel free to utilize the comment section, the chat, and share your thoughts. If not, then just sit back, relax, and enjoy the reading. We're reading chapters 12 and 13. Chapter 12 is In the Belly of the Beast. Chapter 13, A Meeting of Hearts. Okay? Without further ado, here we go. Chapter 12, In the Belly of the Beast. There are two quotes here, one by Blaise Pascal, and it reads, "Men never do evil so completely and cheerfully as when they do it from a religious conviction." My goodness. My goodness. That was loaded and very true, actually. Next quote is by G.K. Chesterton. And that quote states, "Once abolish the God and the government becomes the God." Once abolish the God and the government becomes the God. That's loaded. And that also is very true. Here we go. As Mac made his way down the trail toward the lake, he suddenly realized that something was missing. His constant companion, the great sadness, was gone. It was as if it had been washed away in the midst of the fire waterfall as he emerged from behind its curtain. Its absence felt odd, perhaps even uncomfortable. For the past years, it had defined for him what was normal, but now unexpectedly it had vanished. Normal is a myth, he thought to himself. The great sadness would not be part of his identity any longer. He knew now that Missy wouldn't care if he refused to put it on. In fact, she wouldn't want him to huddle in that shroud and would likely grieve for him if he did. He wondered who he would now be that he was letting all that go. To walk into each day without the guilt and despair that had sucked the colors of life out of everything. As he entered the clearing, he saw Jesus still waiting, still skipping stones. Hey, I think my best was 13 skips, he said as he laughed and walked to meet Mack. But Tyler beat me by 3 and Josh threw one that skipped so fast we all lost count. As they hugged, Jesus added, "You have special kids, Mack. You and Nan have loved them very well. Kate is struggling, as you know, but we're not done there." The very ease and intimacy with which Jesus talked about his children touched him deeply. "Then they're gone?" Jesus pulled back and nodded. "Yes, back to their dreams, except Missy, of course." "Is she?" Mack began. "She was overjoyed to have been this close to you, and she's thrilled knowing you are better." Max struggled to maintain his composure. Jesus understood and changed the subject. "So, how was your time with Sophia?" "Sophia? Ah, so that's who she is," exclaimed Mac. Then a perplexed look came across his face. "But doesn't that make 4 of you? Is she God too?" Jesus laughed. "No, Mac, there are only 3 of us. Sophia is a personification of Papa's wisdom." "Oh, like in Proverbs, where wisdom is pictured as a woman calling out in the streets, trying to find anyone who will listen to her. That's her." "But," Mac paused as he bent to untie the laces of his shoes, "she seems so real." "Oh, she's quite real," responded Jesus. He then looked around as if to see if anyone was watching and whispered, "She's part of the mystery surrounding of Sarayu." "I love Sarayu," Mac exclaimed as he stood, somewhat surprised at his own transparency. "Me too," Jesus stated with emphasis. They walked back to the shore and silently stood looking across at the shack. "It was terrible, and it was wonderful, my time with Sophia." Mac finally answered the question Jesus had asked earlier. He suddenly realized that the sun was still high in the sky. "Exactly how long have I been gone?" "It's been less than 15 minutes, so not long," Jesus replied. At Mac's look of bewilderment, he added, "Time with Sophia is not like normal time." "Huh?" grunted Mac. "I doubt if anything with her is normal." "Actually," Jesus started to speak, but paused to throw one last skipping stone. "With her, everything is normal and elegantly simple. Because you are so lost and independent, you bring to her many complications. And as a result, you find even her simplicity profound. So I'm complex and she's simple. Woo, my world is upside down." Mac had already sat down on a log and was taking off his shoes and socks for the walk back. "Can you tell me this? Here it is, the middle of the day, and my children were here in their dreams. How does that work? Is any of this real, or am I just dreaming too?" Again, Jesus laughed. "As far as how all this works, don't ask Mac. It's a little heady, something to do with time dimensional coupling, more Sarayu stuff. Time, as you know it, presents no boundaries to the one who created it. You can ask her if you like." "Nah, I think I'll wait on that one. I was just curious," he chuckled. "But as for is any of this real? Far more real than you can imagine." Jesus paused for a moment to get Mac's full attention. "A better question might be, what is real?" "I'm beginning to think that I have no idea," Mac offered. Would all this be any less real if it were inside a dream? I think I'd be disappointed. Why? Mac, there is far more going on here than you have the ability to perceive. Let me assure you, all of this is very much real, far more real than life have as you've known it. Mac hesitated, but then decided to take the risk and ask, "There is one thing still bothering me about Missy." Jesus walked over and sat next to him on the log. Mac leaned over and put his elbows on his knees, staring past his hands and down at the pebbles near his feet. Finally, he said, "I keep thinking about her, alone in that truck, so terrified." Jesus reached over and put his hand on Mac's shoulder and squeezed. Gently, he spoke. "Mac, she was never alone. I never left her. We never left her, not for one instant. I could no more abandon her or you than I could abandon myself." "Did she know you were there?" "Yes, Mac, she did. Not at first. The fear was overwhelming and she was in shock. It took hours to get up here from the campsite. But as Sarah Yu wrapped herself around her, Missy settled down. The long ride actually gave us a chance to talk." Mac was trying to take all this in. He could no longer speak. "She may have been only 6 years old, but Missy and I are friends. We talk. She had no idea what was going on. She was actually more worried about you and the other kids. Knowing that you couldn't find her, she prayed for you, for your peace." Mac wept, fresh tears rolling down his face. This time he didn't mind. Jesus gently pulled him into his arms and held him. "Mac, I don't think you want to know all the details. I'm sure they won't help you. But I can tell you there was not a moment that we were not with her. She knew my peace, and you would have been proud of her. She was so brave." The tears flowed freely now, but even Mac noticed this time it was different. He was no longer alone. Without embarrassment, he wept onto the shoulder of this man he had grown to love. With each sob, he felt the tension drain away, replaced by a deep sense of relief. Finally, he took a deep breath and blew it out as he lifted his head. Then, without another word, he stood up, slung his shoes over one shoulder, and simply walked onto the water. Although he was a little surprised when his first step found the lake bottom up to his ankles, he didn't care. He stopped, rolled up his pants leg above the knees, just to be sure, and took another step onto the shocking cold water. This one took him up to a mid calf, and the next up to just below his knees, his feet still on the lake bottom. He looked back to Jesus standing on the shore with arms folded across his chest, watching him. Mac turned and looked toward the opposite shore. He wasn't sure why it wasn't working this time, but he was determined to press on. Jesus was there, so he had nothing to worry about. The prospect of a long and cold swim was not too thrilling, but Mac was sure he could make it across if he had to. Thankfully, when he took his next step, instead of going deeper, he rose up a little, and with each succeeding stride, he came up even more until he was on top of the water once again. Jesus joined him, and they both continued walking toward the shack. "This always works better when we do it together, don't you think?" Jesus asked, smiling. "Still more to learn, I guess." Mac returned his smile. It didn't matter to him, he realized, whether he had to swim the distance or walk on the water, as wonderful as the latter was. What mattered was that Jesus was with him. Perhaps he was beginning to trust him after all, even if it were only baby steps. "Thank you for being with me, for talking to me about Missy. I haven't really talked about that with anyone. It just felt so huge and terrifying. It doesn't seem to hold the same power now." "The darkness hides the true size of fears and lies and regrets," Jesus explained. "The truth is, they are more shadow than reality, so they seem bigger in the dark. When the light shine into the places they live inside you, you start to see them for what they are." "But why do we keep all that crap inside?" Mac asked. "Because we believe it's safer there. And sometimes, when you're a kid trying to survive, it really is safer there. Then you grow up to the outside. But on the inside, you're still the kid in the dark cave surrounded by monsters. And out of habit, you keep adding to your collection. We all collect things we value. This made Max smile. He knew Jesus was referring to something Sarah you had said about collecting tears. So how does that change, for somebody who's lost in the dark like me? Most often, pretty slowly, Jesus answered. Remember, you can't do it alone. Some folks try with all kinds of coping mechanisms and mental games, but the monsters are still there, just waiting for the chance to come out. So, what do I do now? What you're already doing, Mac, learning to live loved. It's not an easy concept for humans. You have a hard time sharing anything. He chuckled and continued. So, yes, what we desire is for you to return to us. And then we come and make our home inside you. And then we share. The friendship is real, not merely imagined. We're meant to experience this life, your life, together in a dialogue, sharing the journey. You get to share in our wisdom and learn to love with our love. And we get to hear you grumble and gripe and complain. And Mac laughed out loud and pushed Jesus sideways. Stop. Jesus yelled and froze where he stood. At first, Mac thought he might have offended him, but Jesus was looking intently into the water. Did you see that? Look, here it comes again. What? Max stepped closer, shielded his eyes to try and see what it was that Jesus was looking at. Look, shouted Jesus in a hushed sort of way. He's a beauty. Must be almost 2 feet long. And then Max saw him, a huge lake trout gliding by only a foot or two beneath the surface, seemingly oblivious to the commotion he was causing above. I've been trying to catch him for 2 weeks, and here he comes just to bait me. He laughed. Mac watched amazed as Jesus started to dodge this way and that, trying to keep up with the fish, and finally gave up. He looked at Mac excited as a kid. Isn't he great? I'll probably never catch him. Mac was bewildered by the whole scene. Jesus, why don't you just command him to, I don't know, jump in your boat or bite your hook? Aren't you the Lord of creation? Sure, said Jesus, leaning down and running his hand over the water. But what would be the fun in that, huh? He looked up and grinned. Mac didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He realized how much he had come to love this man who was also God. Jesus stood back up, and together they continued their meandering toward the dock. Mac ventured another question. Can I ask, why didn't you tell me about Missy earlier? Like last night or a year ago, or don't think we didn't try. Have you noticed that in your pain, you assume the worst of me? I've been talking to you for a long time, but today was the first time you could hear it. And all of the other times weren't a waste either. Like little cracks in the wall, one at a time. But woven together, they prepared you for today. You have to take the time to prepare the soil if you wanted to embrace the seed. I'm not sure why we resist you so much, Mac mused. It seems kind of stupid now. It's all part of the timing of grace, Mac, Jesus continued. If the universe contained only one human being, timing would be rather simple. But add just one more, and well, you know the story. Each choice ripples out through time and relationships, bouncing off of other choices. And out of what seems to be a huge mess, Papa weaves a magnificent tapestry. Only Papa can work all this out. And she does it with grace. So I guess all I can do is follow her, Mac concluded. Yep, that's the point. Now you're beginning to understand what it means to be truly human. They reached the end of the dock, and Jesus leaped up onto it, turning to help Mac. Together they sat down at its end and dangled their bare feet in the water, watching the mesmerizing effects of the wind on the surface of the lake. Mac was the first to break the silence. Was I seeing heaven when I was seeing Missy? It looked a lot like here. Well, Mac, our final destiny is not the picture of heaven that you have stuck in your head. The image of pearly gates and streets of gold. Instead, it's a new cleansing of this universe. So it will indeed look a lot like here. Then what's with the pearly gates and gold stuff? That stuff, my brother, Jesus began, lying back on the dock and closing his eyes against the warmth and brightness of the day. Is a picture of me and the woman I'm in love with. Mack looked at him to see if he was joking, but it was obvious he wasn't. It's a picture of my bride, the church, individuals who together form a spiritual city with a living river flowing through the middle, and on both shores, trees growing with fruit that will heal the hurt and sorrows of the nation. And this city is always open, and each gate into it is made of a single pearl. He opened one eye and looked at Mack. That would be me. He saw Mack's question and explained, pearls, Mack, the only precious stone made by pain, suffering, and finally death. I get it. You are the way in, but Mack paused, searching for the right words. You're talking about the church as this woman you're in love with. I'm pretty sure I haven't met her. He turned away slightly. She's not the place I go to on Sundays. Mack said more to himself, unsure if that was safe to say out loud. Mack, that's because you're only seeing the institution, a man made system. That's not what I came to build. What I see are people and their lives, a living, breathing community of all those who love me, not buildings and programs. Mack was a bit taken back to hear Jesus talking about church this way. But then again, it didn't really surprise me. It was a relief. So, how do I become part of that church? He asked. This woman you seem to be so gaga over. It's simple, Mac. It's all about relationships and simply sharing life. What we are doing right now, just doing this and being open and available to others around us. My church is all about people and life is all about relationships. You can't build it. It's my job, and I'm actually pretty good at it. Jesus said with a chuckle. For Mac, these words were like a breath of fresh air. Simple. Not a bunch of exhausting work and a long list of demands, and not the sitting in endless meetings staring at the backs of people's heads, people he really didn't even know, just sharing life. But wait, Mac had a jumble of questions starting to surface. Maybe he had misunderstood. This seemed too simple. Again, he caught himself. Perhaps it was because humans are so utterly lost and independent that we take what is simple and make it complex. So he thought twice about messing with what he was beginning to understand. To begin asking his jumbled mess of questions at the moment felt like throwing a dirt cloud into a little pool of clear water. Never mind, was all he said. Mac, you don't need to have it all figured out. Just be with me. After a moment, he decided to join Jesus, and he lay on his back next to him, shielding his eyes from the sun in order to watch the clouds sweeping away the early afternoon. Well, to be honest, he admitted, I'm not too disappointed that the street of gold thing isn't the big prize. It always sounded a little boring to me and not nearly as wonderful as being out here with you. Near quiet descended as Mac took in the moment. He could hear the hush of wind caressing trees and the laughter of nearby creek as it spilled its way into the lake. The day was majestic. The take your breath away surroundings incredible. I really do want to understand. I mean, I find the way you are so different from all the well intentioned religious stuff I'm familiar with. As well intentioned as it might be, you know that religious machinery can chew up people. Jesus said with a bite on his own. An awful lot of what is done in my name has nothing to do with me, and is often, even if unintentional, very contrary to my purposes. You're not too fond of religion and institutions? Max said, not sure if he was asking a question or making an observation. I don't create institutions. Never have, never will. What about the institution of marriage? Marriage is not an institution, it's a relationship. Jesus paused, his voice steady and patient. Like I said, I don't create institutions. That's an occupation for those who want to play God. So, no, I'm not too big on religion. Jesus said a little sarcastically, and not very fond of politics or economics either. Jesus's visage darkened noticeably. And why should I be? They are the man created trinity of terrors that ravages the earth and deceives those I care about. What mental turmoil and anxiety does any human face that is not related to one of those three? Mack hesitated. He wasn't sure what to say. This all felt a little over his head. Noticing that Mack's eyes were glazing over, Jesus downshifted. Put simply, those terrors are tools that many use to prop up their illusions of security and control. People are afraid of uncertainty, afraid of the future. These institutions, these structures of ideologies, are all of a vain effort to create some sense of certainty and security where there isn't any. It's all false. Systems cannot provide you security. Only I can. Whoa, was all Mac could think. The landscape of how he and just about everyone he knew had sought to manage and navigate their lives was being reduced to little more than rubble. So Mac was still processing and not really coming up with much. So he turned back to the question. I don't have an agenda here, Mac. Just the opposite, Jesus interjected. I came to give you life to the fullest. My life. Mac was still straining to understand. The simplicity and purity of enjoying a growing friendship. I got it. If you try to live this without me, without the ongoing dialogue of us sharing this journey together, it would be like trying to walk on the water by yourself. You can't. And when you try, however well intentioned, you're going to sink. Knowing full well the answer, Jesus asked, have you ever tried to save someone who was drowning? Mac's chest and muscles instinctively tightened. He didn't like remembering Josh and the canoe, and the sense of panic that suddenly rushed back from memory. It's extremely hard to rescue someone unless they are willing to trust you. Yes, it sure is. That's all I ask of you. When you start to sink, let me rescue you. It seemed like a simple request, but Mac was used to being the lifeguard, not the one drowning. Jesus, I'm not sure I know how to. Let me show you. Just keep giving me the little bit you have, and together we'll watch it grow. Mac began to put on his socks and shoes. Sitting here with you in this moment, it doesn't seem that hard. But when I think about my regular life back home, I don't know how to keep it as simple as you're suggesting. I'm stuck in that same grasp for control everyone else is. Politics, economics, social systems, bills, family, commitments. It can all be a bit overwhelming. I don't know how to change it all. No one is asking you to, Jesus said tentatively. That is Saryu's task, and she knows how to do it without brutalizing anyone. This whole thing is a process, not an event. All I want for you is to trust me with what little you can and grow in loving people around you with the same love I share with you. It's not your job to change them or to convince them. You are free to love without an agenda. That's what I want to learn. And you are, Jesus winked. Jesus stood up and stretched, and Mac followed. I've been told so many lies, he admitted. Jesus looked at him and then with one arm pulled Mac in and hugged him. I know, Mac. So have I. I just didn't believe him. Together they began to walk down the dock. As they approached the shore, they slowed again. Jesus put his hand on Mac's shoulder and gently turned him until they were face to face. Mac, the world system is what it is. Institutions, systems, ideologies, and all the vain, futile efforts of humanity that go with them are everywhere. And interactions with all of it is unavoidable. But I can give you freedom to overcome any system of power in which you find yourself, be it religious, economic, social, or political. You will grow in the freedom to be inside or outside all kinds of systems and to move freely between and among them. Together, you and I can be in it and not of it. But so many of the people I care about seem to be both in it and of it. Mac was thinking of his friends, church people who had expressed love to him and his family. He knew they loved Jesus, but were also sold out to religious activity and patriotism. Mac, I love them, and you wrongly judge many of them. For those who are both in it and of it, we must find ways to love and serve them, don't you think? Asked Jesus. Remember, the people who know me are the ones who are free to live and love without any agenda. Is that what it means to be a Christian? It sounded kind of stupid as Mac said it, but it was how he was trying to sum up everything in his mind. Who said anything about being a Christian? I'm not a Christian. The idea struck Mac as odd and unexpected, and he couldn't keep himself from grinning. So, I suppose you aren't. They arrived at the door of the workshop. Again, Jesus stopped. Those who love me come from every system that exists. They were Buddhists, they are Mormons, Baptists, or Muslims, Democrats, Republicans, and many who don't vote or are not part of any Sunday morning or religious institution. I have followers who were murderers and many who were self righteous. Some are bankers and bookies, Americans and Iraqis, Jews and Palestinians. I have no desire to make them Christian, but I do want to join them in their transformation into sons and daughters of my Papa, into my brothers and sisters, into my beloved. Does that mean, asked Mac, that all roads will lead to you? Not at all, smiled Jesus as he reached for the door handle to the shop. Most roads don't lead anywhere. What it does mean is that I will travel any road to find you. He paused. Mac, I've got some things to finish up in the shop, so I'll catch up with you later. Okay, what do you want me to do? Whatever you want, Mac. The afternoon is yours. Jesus patted him on the shoulder and grinned. One last thing. Remember earlier when you thanked me for letting you see Missy? That was all Papa's idea. With that, he turned and waved over his shoulder as he walked into the workshop. Mac knew instantly what he wanted to do and headed to the shack to see if he could find Papa. Whew, that is good, man. That is so good. And there was so many times I wanted to just pause, but and kind of say something in there, but I didn't want to interrupt the flow. It was so good. That chapter is juicy. That chapter, I would not mind rereading that chapter just to go in and pull those nuggets out of there. So many nuggets, my goodness. Oh my goodness. Especially talking about the simplicity. The simplicity. Lauren Hill said it. It could all be so simple, but we'd rather make it hard. The simplicity. Oh, and then to hear him say, it's not about all that other stuff. It's about relationship. Relationship is the language of the universe. Relationship, interconnectedness, not independence, not dependence. No, interdependence. There's no one connection without the other being connected to the other, and the other, the stars are connected to the planets that are connected to the moon, that is connected to the sun, that is connected to the earth, that is connected to the humans, that is connected to the animals, that is everything is connected, interconnected. Relationship is the language of the universe. Ah, and to love without an agenda. A book that I'm writing is Love Beyond Belief. Love Beyond Belief. Love without an agenda. Love even if the person doesn't look like you, walk like you, talk like you, choose like you, eat like you, dress like you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Love them. Love them, period. That is the only thing. Our job is to perfect our loving of ourselves and of others, and to build relationships with ourselves, with God, the Creator, infinite being, infinite intelligence, with one another, with nature. My goodness, that thing is so good. Okay, that was chapter 12. Here we are, chapter 13, A Meeting of Hearts. There's a quote by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and it reads, falsehood has an infinity of combinations, but truth has only one mode of being. That's true. As Mack neared the cabin, he could smell scones or muffins or something wonderful. It might have been only an hour since lunch due to Syracuse time dimensional thingy, but he felt like he hadn't eaten in hours. Even if he had been blind, he would have had no trouble finding his way to the kitchen. But when he came to the back door, he was surprised and disappointed to discover the place empty. Anyone here? He called. I'm on the porch, Mac, came her voice through the open window. Grab yourself something to drink and come join me. Mac poured himself some coffee and walked out on the front porch. Papa was reclining on an old Adirondack chair. Chair, okay. Eyes closed, soaking in the sun. What's this? God has time to catch a few rays. Don't you have anything better to do this afternoon? Mac, you have no idea what I'm doing right now. There was another chair on the opposite side, so he stepped over to it, and as he sat down, she opened one eye. Between them, on a small end table, sat a tray full of rich looking pastry with fresh butter and an array of jams and jellies. Wow, this smells great, he exclaimed. Dive in. It's a recipe I borrowed from your own great great grandma. Made it from scratch, too, she grinned. Mac wasn't sure what made it from scratch might mean when God was saying it and decided to leave well enough alone. He picked up one of the scones and bit into it without anything on it. It was still warm from the oven and fairly melted in his mouth. Wow, that is good. Thank you. Well, you'll have to thank your great great grandma when you see her. I'm rather hoping, Max said between bites, that won't be too soon. Wouldn't you like to know? Papa said with a playful wink and then closed her eyes again. As Mac ate another scone, he groped for the courage to speak his heart. Papa, he asked, and for the first time, calling God Papa did not seem awkward to him. Yes, Mac, she answered as her eyes opened and she smiled with delight. I'm, I've been pretty hard on you. Sophia must have gotten to you. Did she ever? I had no idea I had presumed to be your judge. It sounds so horribly arrogant. That's because it was, Papa responded with a smile. I'm so sorry. I really had no idea. Max shook his head sadly. But that is in the past now, where it belongs. I don't even want your sorrow for it. I just want us to grow on together without it. I want that too, Max said, reaching for another scone. Aren't you going to eat any of these? No, you go ahead. You know how it is. Start cooking and tasting this and that, and before you know it, you used you used up your whole appetite. You enjoy. And she nudged the tray toward him. He took another and sat back to savor it. Jesus said it was your idea to give me some time with Missy this afternoon. I can't begin to find words to thank you for it. Ah, you're welcome, honey. It gave me great joy too. I was so looking forward to putting you two together. I could hardly stand it. I wish Nan could have been here for that. That would have made it perfect, Papa agreed with excitement. Max sat in silence, unsure what she meant or how to respond. Isn't Missy special? She shook her head back and forth. My. I'm especially fond of that one. Me too, Mac beamed and thought of his princess behind the waterfall. Princess? Waterfall? Wait a minute. Papa watched as the tumblers fell into place. Obviously, you know about my daughter's fascination with waterfalls and especially the legend of the Motoma princess. Papa nodded. Is that what this is about? Did she have to die so that you could change me? Whoa there, Mac, Papa leaned forward. That's not how I do things. But she loved that story so much. Of course she did. That's how she came to appreciate what Jesus did for her and the whole human race. She Stories about a person willing to exchange their life for another are a golden thread in your world, revealing both your need and my heart. But if she hadn't died, I wouldn't be here now. Mac, just because I work incredible good out of them unspeakable tragedies doesn't mean I orchestrate the tragedies. Don't ever assume that my using something means I caused it or that I need it to accomplish my purpose. That will only lead you to false notions about me. Grace doesn't depend on suffering to exist, but there is suffering. You will find grace in many facets and colors. Actually, that's a relief. I couldn't bear to think that my pain might have cut short her life. She was not your sacrifice, Mac. She is and will always be your joy. That's enough purpose for her. Max settled back in his chair, surveying the view from the porch. I feel so full. Well, you've eaten most of the scones. That's not what I meant, he laughed, and you know it. The world just looks 1,000 times brighter, and I feel 1,000 times lighter. You are, Mac. It's not easy being the judge of the entire world. Papa smiled, reassured Mac that this new ground was safe. Or judging you, he added. I was quite a mess. Worse off than I thought. I have totally misunderstood who you are in my life. Not totally, Mac. We've had some wonderful moments too. So let's not make more of it. Let's not make more of it than it is. But I always liked Jesus better than you. He seemed so gracious and you seemed so mean. Sad, isn't it? He came to show people who I am, and most folks only believe it about him. They still play us off like good cop, bad cop most of the time, especially the religious folks. When they want people to do what they think is right, they need a stern God. When they need forgiveness, they run to Jesus. Exactly, Max said with a point of the finger. But we were all in him. He reflected my heart exactly. I love you and invite you to love me. But why me? I mean, why Mackenzie Allen Philips? Why do you love someone who is such a screw up? After all the things I felt in my heart toward you and all of the accusations I made, why would you even bother to keep trying to get through to me? Because that is what love does, answered Papa. Remember, Mackenzie, I don't wonder what you will do or what choices you will make. I already know. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to teach you how not to hide inside of lies. Hypothetically, of course, she said with a wink. And let's say that I know it will take you 47 situations and events before you will actually hear me. That is, before you will hear clearly enough to agree with me and change. So when you don't hear me the first time, I'm not frustrated or disappointed. I'm thrilled. Only 46 more times to go. And that first time will be a building block to construct a bridge of healing that one day, that today, you will walk across. Okay, now I'm feeling guilty, he admitted. Let me know how that works for you, Papa chuckled. Seriously, Mackenzie, it's not about feeling guilty. Guilt will never help you find freedom in me. The best it can do is make you try harder to conform to some ethic on the outside. I'm about the inside. But what you said, about hiding inside lies, I guess I've done that one way or another most of my life. Honey, you're a survivor. No shame in that. Your daddy hurt you something fierce. Life hurt you. Lies are one of the easiest places for survivors to run. It gives you a sense of safety, a place where you only have to depend on yourself. But it's a dark place, isn't it? So dark, Mac muttered with a shake of his head. But are you willing to give up the power and safety it promises you? That's the question. What do you mean? Asked Mac, looking up at her. Lies are a little fortress. Inside them, you can feel safe and powerful. Through your little fortress of lies, you can try to run your life and manipulate others. But the fortress needs walls, so you build some. These are the justifications for your lies. Like you're doing this to protect someone you love, to keep them from feeling pain. Whatever works, just so you feel okay about the lies. But the reason I didn't tell Nan about the note was was because it would have caused her so much hurt. See? There you go, Mackenzie. Justifying yourself. What you said is a bold faced lie, but you can't see it. She leaned forward. Do you want me to tell you what the truth is? Mac knew Papa was going deep, and somewhere inside he was both relieved to be talking about this and tempted to almost laugh out loud. He was no longer embarrassed by it. No, he drew his answer out slowly and smirked up at her. But go ahead anyway. She smiled back and then grew serious. The truth is, Mac, the real reason you did not tell Nan was not because you were trying to save her from pain. The real reason is that you were afraid of having to deal with the emotions you might encounter, both from her and in yourself. Emotions scare you, Mac. You lied to protect yourself, not her. He sat back. Papa was absolutely right. And furthermore, she continued, such a lie is unloving. In the name of caring about her, your lie became an inhibitor in your relationship with her and in her relationship with me. If you had told her, maybe she would be here with us now. Papa's words hit Mac like a punch in the stomach. You wanted her to come too. That was your decision and hers. If she had ever been given the chance to make it. The point is, Mac, you don't know what would have happened because you were so busy protecting Nan. And again, he was floundering in guilt. So, what do I do now? You tell her, Mackenzie. You face the fear of coming out of the dark and tell her and ask her for forgiveness, and you let her forgiveness heal you. Ask her to pray for you, Mac. Take the risks of honesty. When you mess up again, ask for forgiveness again. It's a process, honey, and life is real enough without having to be obscured by lies. And remember, I am bigger than your lies. I can work beyond them, but that doesn't make them right and doesn't stop the damage they do or the hurt they cause others. What if she doesn't forgive me? Mac knew that this was indeed a very deep fear that he lived with. It felt safer to continue to throw new lies on the growing pile of old ones. Ah, that is the risk of faith, Mac. Faith does not grow in the house of uncertainty. I am not here to tell you that Nan will forgive you. Perhaps she won't or can't. But my life inside of you will appropriate risk and uncertainty to transform you by your own choices into a truth teller. And that will be a miracle greater than raising the dead. Mac sat back and let her words sink in. Will you please forgive me? Mac finally offered. Did that a long time ago, Mac. If you don't believe me, ask Jesus. He was there. Mac took a sip of his coffee, surprised to find that it was still as hot as when he first sat down. But I've tried pretty hard to lock you out of my life. People are tenacious when it comes to the treasure of their imaginary independence. They hoard and hold their sickness with a firm grip. They find their identity and worth in their brokenness and guard it with every ounce of strength they have. No wonder grace has such little attraction. In that sense, you've tried to lock the door of your heart from the inside. But I didn't succeed. That's because my love is a lot bigger than your stupidity, Max said with a wink. I use your choices to work perfectly into my purposes. There are many folk like you, Mackenzie, who end up locking themselves into a very small place with a monster that would ultimately betray them, that will not feel or deliver what they thought it would. Imprisoned with such a terror, they once again have the opportunity to return to me. The very treasure they trusted in will become their undoing. So you use pain to force people back to you? It was obvious Mac didn't approve. Papa leaned forward and gently touched Mac's hand. Honey, I also forgave you for even thinking I could be that way. I understand how difficult it is for you, so lost in your perceptions of reality and yet so sure of your own judgments to even begin to perceive, let alone imagine who real love and goodness are. True love never forces. She squeezed his hand and sat back. But if I understand what you're saying, the consequences of our selfishness are part of the process that brings us to the end of our delusions and helps us find you. Is that why you don't stop every evil? Is that why you didn't warn me that Missy was in danger or help us find her? The accusing tone was no longer in Mack's voice. If only it were that simple, Mackenzie. Nobody knows what terrors I have saved the world from because people can't see what never happened. All evil flows from independence, and independence is your choice. If I were to simply revoke all the choices of independence, the world as you know it would cease to exist and love would have no meaning. This world is not a playground where I keep all my children free from evil. Evil is the chaos of this age that you brought to me, but it will not have the final say. Now it touches everyone that I love, those who follow me and those who don't. If I take away the consequences of people's choices, I destroy the possibility of love. Love that is forced is no love at all. Mac rubbed his hands through his hair and sighed. It's just so hard to understand. Honey, let me tell you one of the reasons that it makes no sense to you. It's because you have such a small view of what it means to be human. You and this creation are incredible, whether you understand that or not. You are wonderful beyond imagination. Just because you make horrendous and destructive choices does not mean you deserve less respect for what you inherently are, the pinnacle of my creation and the center of my affection. But, Max started. Also, she interrupted, don't forget that in the midst of all your pain and heartache, you are surrounded by beauty, the wonder of creation, art, your music and culture, the sounds of laughter and love, of whispered hopes and celebrations, of new life and transformation, of reconciliation and forgiveness. These also are the results of your choices, and every choice matters, even the hidden ones. So, whose choices should be countermanded? Mackenzie? Perhaps I should never have created. Perhaps Adam should have been stopped before he chose independence. What about your choice to have another daughter, or your father's choice to beat his son? You demand your independence, but then complain that I actually love you enough to give it to you. Max smiled. I've heard that before. Papa smiled back and reached for a piece of pastry. I told you Sophia got to you. Mackenzie, my purposes are not for my comfort or yours. My purposes are always and only an expression of love. I purpose to work life out of death, to bring freedom out of brokenness and turn darkness into light. What you see is chaos. I see as a fractal. All things must unfold, even though it puts all those I love in the midst of a world of horrible tragedies, even the one closest to me. You're talking about Jesus, aren't you? Mac asked softly. Yep, I love that boy. Papa looked away and shook her head. Everything's about him, you know. One day you folk will understand what he gave up. There are just no words. Mac could feel his own emotions welling up. Something touched him deeply Papa as he watched Papa talk about her son. He hesitated to ask, but finally broke into the silence. Papa, can you help me understand something? What exactly did Jesus accomplish by dying? She was still looking out into the forest. Oh, she waved her hand. Nothing much. Just the substance of everything that love purposed from before the foundations of creation. Papa stated matter of factly, then turned and smiled. Wow, that's a pretty broad brush. Could you bring it down a few notches? Asked Mac rather boldly. Or so he thought after the words had left his mouth. Papa, instead of being upset, beamed at him. My, but aren't you getting uppity and all? Give a man an inch and he thinks he's a ruler. He returned the grin, but his mouth was full and he didn't say anything. Like I said, everything is about him. Creation and history are all about Jesus. He is the very center of our purpose, and in him, we are now fully human. So our purpose and your destiny are forever linked. You might say that we have put all our eggs in one human basket. There is no plan B. Seems pretty risky, Max surmised. Maybe for you, but not for me. There has never been a question that what I wanted from the beginning, I will get. Papa sat forward and crossed her arms on the table. Honey, you asked me what Jesus accomplished on the cross. So now listen to me carefully. Through his death and resurrection, I am now fully reconciled to the world. The whole world? You mean those who believe in you, right? The whole world, Mac. All I'm telling you is that reconciliation is a two-way street. And I have done my part totally, completely, finally. It is not the nature of love to force a relationship, but it is the nature of love to open the way. At that, Papa stood up and gathered the dishes to take into the kitchen. Max shook his head and looked up. So, I don't really understand reconciliation, and I'm really scared of emotions. Is that about it? Papa didn't answer immediately, but shook her head as she turned and walked away in the direction of the kitchen. Mac overheard her grunt and mutter as if only to herself. Men, such idiots sometimes. He couldn't believe it. Did I hear God call me an idiot? He called through the screen door. He saw her shrug before disappearing around the corner. And then he heard her yell back in the direction. If the shoe fits, honey. Yes, sir. If the shoe fits. Mac laughed and sat back. He felt finished. His brain tank was more than full, as was his stomach. He carried the rest of the dishes to the kitchen and placed a stack on the counter, kissed Papa on the cheek, and headed for the back door. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love it so much. I love it so much. And I also love how softened Mac has become. The guard is down, you know. He's not being so argumentative and defensive. I love that. He's allowing. He's allowing. He's opening up himself to the wisdom, the understanding. That's what he's getting. He's really getting understanding. He's getting, connection. He's reconnecting and understanding what relationship is. Not so much about the mushy touchy feely stuff. No, he's really learning what relationship is, to relate one to another. He's learning that. I love every part of this. And when I tell you, yes, I'm reading, and yes, we're reading the story of Mac, right? What he experienced. Oh, I also love the fact that Papa was talking about how Mac told his wife a lie, right? In his mind, he convinced himself to tell her that he told her a lie to protect her, right? And if you remember, when he told Willie, his best friend, whose truck he borrowed, the ghostwriter of this book, when he told Willie that he did not tell Nan that he was going up to the shack, even Willie said, "Are you serious? You lied to her? You never lie. You all never have lies between each other." That was right there. It was pinpointed right there. So and Matt convinced himself that he did not say anything to her. And I'm so glad that Papa called it out on him, because Papa said, no, no, no. You didn't lie to her to protect her. You lied to her to protect yourself. You were the one that you were trying to cover up. Actually, I even would go as far as to say that Mac was more scared of what she would think about, the craziness of it all and all of this stuff. Mac he used that lie to cover his own fears and his own, all of the stuff that he was trying to, but he disguised it by saying, "Oh, I'm gonna keep her away from it to protect her." I'm so glad Papa called that out on him. Papa said, "See, you lied to her. You made a decision for her. You didn't even give her a chance to make her own decision. Because if you would have told her this, that you were coming up here, she probably would have joined you, okay? And then she would have experienced this very experience right along with you. But here you are experiencing this on your own and wishing she's here. And even the experience of getting a chance to see Missy and all of that stuff. Yes, Nan would have absolutely loved that experience. But because you lied, you robbed her of it. Because you lied to protect yourself, you robbed her of this. Mm, 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 mm. I absolutely love the love that they are giving him, that they're expressing to him, the truth, the transparency, no matter how hard it is for him to hear. I love the truth that they're giving him, that they owe him. Because how dare you say that you love me and you don't tell me my truth? The one thing I will say about myself, man, that I have to say got me in so much trouble over the years, and that is my very, 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 very blunt mouth. Okay. Um, I tell truth. I tell truth to all, but especially to the ones that I love. I have come to understand that I need to develop that love for all, right? And that is a quest that I am on intently, deliberately every single day. Okay. Um, but in addition to that, the ones that I love, family, friends, those who I'm in close connection with, I'll say that. Those who I'm in close connection with, I've always given truth to. And I must say, that has not always, panned out well, because quiet as it's kept. I mean, we all know that we're not too fond of hearing our own truth. We just aren't at times. We don't like to be told when we have slipped, when we done messed up, when we don't like to be told our truth, our transparency. I mean, our realness. We don't like we have developed a habit of hiding behind the personas and the masks and the ego. That's what it is, really. The ego and the the illusions that we've created for ourselves, that we've convinced ourselves, or convince others to believe about us. And once upon a time, I'm not going to even lie, I myself had a persona. Ugh. And it was exhausting. Do you know it is exhausting to keep up a persona? That takes work, like work. It's exhausting. So if it's so toiling and it's so exhausting, why not just simply live truthfully, transparently, as you? I realized how beautiful I am as a being, how magnificently formed and fashioned I was molded to be, and how unique and how majestic and divine and sacred I am. I had to first tap into those things. I had to tap into them. I had to connect with them. I had to align with them. I had to see myself as that, because that was me. I had to join with who I was originally fashioned to be. And I had to derobe of the persona that I created, or the image that I lived up to, as according to others, right? I had to derobe that. I had to strip completely, spiritually, emotionally, mentally naked, bare, and stand in my beingness, stand in my oneness, stand in my wholeness, stand in my truth, in my power. That is my truth. I had to. And when I did that, oh my goodness. And do it every day. It's a choice. It is a deliberate, intentional choice to be me daily. Daily. Especially when you're surrounded by such dense energies on this planet. And it's so easy to be pulled in and sucked into the illusion of this society construct, the societal constructs that is everything that we see. So I had to really, 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 really connect with the me that I am. That I am, not that I'm becoming. No. How do you become something that you are already? I had to know that. I had to trust that. I had to love that. I had to allow that daily, 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 moment by moment. And the more I did that, the more I do that, the more it's like a deeper, it's as if you feel like you've reached your max of how much you can love self. And then the next day comes and then you love more of self. But out of that ever flowing, ever increasing body of love that you have for you, because it's never ending, you now have a plethora to outpour to others and love them that very same way. Matter of fact, you can love them that way because in them you see you. In them there lives you. And in you there lives them. And animals and nature and planets and moon and sun and stars and God. In you. And so that's why you can love others immensely. No matter what they choose. You don't have to like everything they choose. You don't have to like it. No one is asking you to like it. No one is asking you to agree with it. No one is asking you to do any of those things. The only thing that we're saying is love. Love them regardless. Because everybody is deserving of it. I don't care what their choices are. It's their choice. And it's in those choices that they will soon come to know, just like you came to know. You didn't, on your first attempt at knowing God, you didn't get it either. Okay? Like God mentioned, it might take 47 times for a person to get it. But they get it. They get it. It's the patience of God that I love. Because for 47 times, God was right there. And saying, it's okay. That's okay. You didn't get it this time. Try it again. Try it again. Try it again. I'm here with you. No worries. You didn't get it. It's okay. Try it again. It's the patience of God for me. Okay? The patience, the long suffering, the love, the grace, mercy, forgiveness. That's what I love. That's who we are. And that's who we should be. That's what we should demonstrate from every single day, every single day, every single day. And yes, it can be difficult. Oh my goodness, it can be difficult. Because hate and division is so glamorized, you all. So glamorized in our society. It's not even funny, which is why the light of us has to be ignited. Has to be. I love the different points where she stated it's in the chaos. It's in the chaos. It's in the darkness. We're accustomed to the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. No, no, no. It's actually as above and below. In above is below. That's the way it is. And is below, in below is above. In within is without. And in without is within. They are one and the same. They are one and the same. It takes chaos to see peace. It takes darkness to see light. Right? In above is below. In below is above. Whew, you all. You know what's amazing? I get to sit in this energy all day, every day. I absolutely adore my life. I do. Okay, you all, listen. I could sit here and just really kind of ruminate all day long in this energy, in this space. My goodness. Ooh. Let me tell you, I wouldn't mind listening to this. I'm going to play my own segment back because these two chapters, the whole book has been absolutely flawless, stunning. Okay, stunning, and I love it because I see myself in it. I'm eating good. Okay, I'm eating good before Thanksgiving. How fitting to be Thanksgiving week, right? I'm eating good in this book, but I will say these two particular chapters, they resonate deeply for me. Oh, so deep. So deep. There's so much meat. And I was like, oh, even in chapter 12, I wanted to stop so many times and just say, ooh, that's a Selah moment. That's a Selah moment right there. Selah, Selah, Selah. Pause and think on these things. Pause. So many pause moments that I could have just hit the pause button right there. Just let me breathe that in. Whew, it was a lot of those moments in that chapter 12, and a lot of them in that chapter 13 too, for sure. 12 and 13 were just ooh. So I'm gonna play this back. I have a cake to bake, okay? So while I'm baking my cake and doing my thing, I gotta pack my bag and things for to hit the road tomorrow. Listen, this was good, y'all. Shoot, this was good. This is good. It's not over. It's not over. Okay, here we go. Ooh, I'm just, don't mind me, you all. I'm in it. Okay. So chapter 14 and 15 are next. We will be going over these on Sunday. Of course, by that time, we will be past Thanksgiving. Hopefully you all will be done eating the same meal over and over again. Okay. If you're like me, you don't really do Thanksgiving. I do leftovers because I do not. I'm gonna tell you now. We're gonna eat it on Thursday. We might eat it on Friday. Saturday, run me some Chinese food, okay? Because I'm gonna be tired of looking at it. All right. Okay, so chapter 14, verbs and other freedoms. Come on here. I love that. And then chapter 15, hold on, I'm making my way down. Chapter 15 is a festival of friends. Okay, so that must be the next day. I'm glad about the celebration that they've all been preparing for, okay? A festival of friends is chapter 15. Okay, you all, listen. That's it for now. Oh, so good. Play this back as many times as you want to. If you do not have the book, no worries. I'm here to help you with that. To receive your own free copy of the ebook material, then you can reach out to me via email. It is no cost to you. Naturally, yes, I am a nonprofit organization, 501c3. And yes, we do receive donations. However, to receive this book, the donations are welcome. They are not required. Okay. Any book that we read, is not required for you to pay for them. Okay. So get your book, get your book, get your book. And I thank you for the love, BB. Thank you, honey. Get your book, get your book. Okay. Email me at info@biancamissblee.com. Info@biancamissblee.com. Just send me your information. Say, Dr. B, I want to request the Shack, the book that we're reading, and tell me where to send it to, and I'll send it to you. It'll come Google Drive, okay? Your ebook version, all right? Alrighty, visit my website, you all. If you have not visited the website, go to the website and visit. It is biancamissblee.com. There you can see all of the astrological updates and things like that that's happening in the stratosphere, okay, in the cosmos. You'll also see the classes and the services that I offer. You can take advantage of those if you'd like. I am here for you in that sense. You'll also see merchandise there. Merchandise is also available at walmart.com as well. But of course, you want it faster, you contact me. You'll get it through me. Okay. Also, visit me on social media: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the things. Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee. Okay. Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee. Alrighty, you all, listen. I'm going to give you back your Tuesday evening. I told you I don't like to keep you long. All right. But I will say this: I love you. I mean it. There is absolutely, positively nothing, and I mean nothing, that you can do about it. Don't you even try, because it will not work. We'll see you back here on Sunday. Happy holidays to you all. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy your togetherness. Enjoy love. Enjoy gratitude. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Celebrate. Celebrate every day, but celebrate especially with your family on this week's holiday, okay? Have an amazing week. Somebody commented. Hey, good night, my love. Good night. Have an amazing week, you all. Okay? We'll talk to you on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at Divine Femininity United. Peace.